The moment of truth. Makoto. Oh, nice.
Shoot!
Okay. Ich wusste nicht, dass man das tatsächlich machen kann. Wie ihr wollt.
Here's my answer. It was Celeste.
So I'm the suspicious individual now, am I? I really do hate this kind of joke.
A joke? I wonder.
So what you are saying, then, is that I specifically chose to work together with Hifumi. The idea that I would choose to spend any amount of time interacting with him, that I would go within 10 feet of that shit from brains, that lazy, worthless, goddamn idiot! Pardonnez-moi.
Sie hat gerade ihren Akzent verloren.
Just to be clear, there is evidence to support it.
Just to be clear.
Is that so?
It is. Throughout the investigation, there was certain behavior that was common only to the two of you. Considering what we've learned so far, it only further proves that the two of you were working together.
What is it that only Hifumi and Celeste had in common? Encountering the suspicious individual. Niemand sonst hat es je
I got it!
den
The behavior
Roboter
they had in
gesehen.
common has to do with the suspicious individual in the suit, doesn't it? The only ones who ever actually saw Robo-Justice firsthand were Celeste and Hifumi.
Shush. The adults are talking now.
Sorry.
As he said, only Celeste and Hifumi ever laid eyes on the costumed individual. If we accept that Hifumi was one of the culprits, we can't help but suspect what Celeste has said as well.
Are you saying everything they told us was a lie?
After taking Hifumi to the nurse's office, we all began our search for this individual, correct? And not too long after that, do you remember what Celeste said?
I saw a shadow, something moving around at the top of the stairs.
We headed to the second floor specifically because of what she claimed to have seen. Next, to draw us all to the physics lab up on the third floor,
She let out a blood-curdling scream.
and when we'd all come to see what was wrong, what was it she said?
Celeste, what's wrong? That was a rather intense scream for someone like you. I saw him, the strange costume man. He ran off as soon as I screamed. I was blocking the stairs, so he headed further down the hallway and disappeared.
Once she'd done her job of getting us all up to the physics lab, it was time for her partner to get to work.
Oh. What was that? That came from downstairs. It must have been Hifumi.
It was to get us to divide into two groups, so that we would discover both bodies at the same time?
In fact, Celeste was precisely the one who proposed that we split up.
Stimmt. Then why don't we split up into two groups? I'll lead the hunting party. That seems much more interesting. Very well, then Makoto and Hina, you come with me to the nurse's office. I will leave the capture of the suspicious individual to Toko, Byakuya, and Sakura.
Well, if Celeste and Hifumi were working together, all those chance events suddenly become connected. And on top of that, that piercing cry of yours early on. That was to signal Hifumi, wasn't it? It was your way of telling him, we're on the third floor, everything's going according to plan. Why else would you let out a scream that could have carried across the sea?
I just realized another strange thing. When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, who we now know was only pretending to be dead,
I certainly was not expecting this. I did not imagine that Hifumi would be murdered.
Celeste, you were the first one to say he'd been murdered. You wanted to make sure we wouldn't have any doubt in our minds.
I don't believe it! Everything, the whole thing was one big act!
Hina, you were with Celeste when Hifumi's body disappeared, right?
Yeah? I was feeling kinda sick, so Celeste took me to the bathroom. Wait! Then that was...
She wasn't worried about you. She just saw a chance to help Hifumi sneak out of the nurse's office.
Each piece isn't much by itself, but start putting them together and the picture gets very ugly indeed. Wouldn't you agree, Celeste?
I have no idea what you mean.
Don't bother trying to deny it. You made one fatal mistake.
Oh, did I?
I didn't even catch it myself when you first said it, but looking back, I can say that that one little slip-up was your undoing.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about what you said after Hifumi's body disappeared and we returned to the nurse's office.
What was that? They must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. We're all going to die in. We're going to die just like those guys died.
I remember her saying that too, but I don't understand what's so strange about it.
I do.
Then pay attention. Sakura, Toko, and I were first to discover Taka's body in the equipment room. Then Makoto showed up and told us Hifumi had been killed. So Sakura and I left with Makoto. Once we were in the hall, we ran into Celeste, and the four of us headed to the nurse's office. Now, the entire time we were together, none of us said anything about Taka being dead. Think about it. Celeste's comment doesn't make sense. It was completely out of place.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Although I don't really get what it means.
You hear that, Celeste? Everyone's having some trouble understanding. Could you repeat what you said? If you're really not the culprit, you shouldn't have any problem repeating it, right?
Kaguya said that Celeste's comment doesn't make sense, but what is he alluding to? Wahrscheinlich muss ich hier wieder irgendwas abschließen.
All I said was, they must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. They must be positively elated. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those guys died. And that is all I said.
And that's all it takes to finish this. It's obvious, isn't it? What was so strange about Celeste's comment?
Ich bin mir gerade nur ein bisschen unsicher, was ich auf was anwenden
All
muss.
I said was, they must really enjoying the
Muss
sight
vielleicht
of us. They must
Yakuyas
be, we
Kommentar
are all
nehmen?
going to die.
Wahrscheinlich.
And
that's all it takes.
Weil andersrum hat das irgendwie keinen Sinn gemacht.
Celeste's comment?
Okay.
All I said, they must really enjoying the sight of us. They must be, we are all going to die here. We are going to die.
Just like the... Yo, what's wrong? That's right. There's no reason Celeste should have said, just like those guys died. When she said that, none of us had told her Taka was dead.
Du hattest recht, Christian.
Exactly. And we didn't run into her until after we were all out in the hall. So there was never any chance for her to have seen his body in the equipment room for herself.
So how did you know, Celeste? How did you know more than one person had been killed? And how did you know they were both guys? Because Kyoko had also disappeared, right? So she could have been dead too.
You all have such vivid imaginations. You know that?
Was kommt jetzt?
Imaginations.
You claim that I was lying when I told you about the suspicious person I saw. Then what about the picture I took?
Oh.
How do you explain this picture of the costumed villain dragging Hifumi away?
It has to be some kind of setup, right? So let's put the suit on. And then she used the camera's timer to set up the picture.
Have you so quickly forgotten? You are the only one who could have possibly fit into that suit. Plus, I happen to know that this particular camera does not have a timer. In other words, it is an unassailable fact that this is a picture of Hifumi being dragged away. If everything I told you was a lie, how can this picture exist?
Simple. Are we sure that's really a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away?
What could you possibly mean by that?
Surely there are other explanations than the one you've offered up.
No, there is no other explanation.
Other explanations? if it wasn't a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away, the only other possibility is Hifumi and the suspect are dancing. Hifumi is dragging the suspect away.
I got it! It's not a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away. I would say it's a picture of Hifumi dragging the suspect away.
That's certainly within the realm of possibility. The one being dragged off in that picture isn't Hifumi, but the person in the robot suit. We've simply been led to believe that it's the other way around. And the strange costume might only exist to lead us astray even farther. If you saw someone wearing something like that in this situation, of course you'd notice and be suspicious.
That's what happened! You put me to sleep and made me out to be the bad guy in all this!
Armer Kerl.
Such a thing is utterly impossible.
Warum das denn schon wieder?
Hifumi was dragging him away? Ridiculous.
Is it? I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
Then shut your mouth and allow me to educate you.
Celeste thinks she can prove that there's no way Hifumi was dragging the suspect away. But is that really possible? Die Musik wird schon anders. Robo Justice costume, Yasuhiro's message, Robo...
You dressed me up in that suit after I passed out! Then you just draped me across Hifumi and had him carry my weight! You tried to make me look like the bad guy!
Like I said, ridiculous. As you can see in the picture, the suspect is standing perfectly upright. If the person inside the suit was unconscious, there's no way they could stand up straight like that.
Really?
Then the fortune-telling idiot is the culprit after.
Moment. Steht das hier drin? Nee. Was haben wir noch? Das Kostüm. Oh. Man kann da doch gar nicht sich... das hatten wir doch schon. Man kann damit doch gar nicht sich irgendwie vorn überbeugen. Also selbst wenn jemand bewusstlos da drin sein müsste. Ah, genau.
You dressed me up in that suit after I passed out!
Then you just draped me across. You tried to make me look.
Like I said, as you can see in the picture, if the person inside the suit was unconscious, there's no way
They could stand up straight like that. No, that's wrong.
Vielleicht werde ich auch irgendwann mal die richtige Taste als erstes drücken.
No. Even if the person inside the suit were unconscious, they could still stand up like that, because that Robo Justice suit had a certain characteristic.
You totally can't bend at the waist. Seems like a pretty obvious oversight.
That's right! They totally made a mistake when they made it, so it couldn't bend at the waist.
I'm not so sure that was a mistake. I think the suit was designed from the beginning to be used the way it was.
Celeste and Hifumi took the suit they'd specially designed and stuffed Hiro into it. That's how they were able to fake that whole thing. The point of it all was to make us believe whoever was in the suit was to blame.
Well then, I suppose this
Schöner
is
neuer
checkmate.
Gesichtsausdruck.
Checkmate? Don't make me laugh, you idiot! What do you mean, checkmate? Celeste? Clearly! You want to cram me into your little guilty box? Well, there's one little problem. Have you already forgotten what Hifumi told us as he lay dying?
Hey Hifumi, who was it? Who attacked you? Who tried to kill you? Who killed me? That's right, I remember their name. Yasuhiro.
When we asked him who had attacked him, his answer was quite clear, was it not? He said, and I quote, Yasuhiro. In other words, Yasuhiro Hagakure!
Right! But my name isn't really Yasuhiro! It's actually Taro!
Yeah, I believe you.
Your confusing statements don't make any sense. You're only making things more complicated.
He did say Yasuhiro, but are we sure he was really pointing the finger at Hiro?
What the hell are you talking about? I'll burn you alive!
Kyoko, what do you mean by that?
Think back to how Hifumi used to talk to us.
Ah.
How did he refer to each of us?
He said people's last names.
I got it! That's right! Our last names! He called us all by our last names!
Exactly. I know I heard him say Mr. Naegi more than once, for example.
All the time.
So if Hifumi did mean to say Hiro's name, he would have said his last name, Hagakure.
I'm sure it was just incidental. By chance, his first name. Indecent?
Don't talk.
Random chance. Now isn't that a convenient explanation? No. There's no reason to think he would have said the name any different than normal. But he must have run out of energy before he could say any more.
So Hifumi was trying to tell us the last name of whoever killed him?
But the name he said doesn't apply to anyone here.
Well, no. Hold on. There's one person it could apply to, and that's Celeste. She never actually told us what her real name is.
What did you just say? To think you'd take your false accusation so far, I don't know whether to laugh or spit! Come on! Enough with your idiotic blather! Yasuhiro is a loser's name! Do I look like a loser to you? Well, do I? What? I think I've earned the right to be a little on edge.
A little. Yeah.
Okay, then fill us in. What's your real name?
Make sure your ear holes are wide open and listen up! My real name is Celestia Ludenberg. Could you please stop making me repeat myself over and over again?
Celeste still won't give up, so then I have to do something to make her accept it. Ah, ich weiß schon was.
Hifumi was trying to tell us something. He wanted us to know the killer's last name, Yasuhiro.
If there's one person here who might have that last name,
It would have to be you, Celeste. You haven't told anyone what your real name is.
how many times do I have to tell you? My name is Celestia Ludenberg, god damn it!
How long do you plan to go on pretending?
I'm not pretending. It's the truth. And since you have no way to contradict
Oh really?
me,
Do I? Oh fuck.
that's the only truth there is! Moron! He wanted us to know the killer. If there's one person...
Let's do it again.
You, Celeste.
How many times? Celestia Ludenberg!
How long do you plan?
I'm not pretending. And since you have... That's
Ja.
the only truth there is!
So, der voller ist nicht der letzte. Okay, concentrate.
Hifumi he wanted us to know the
Leertaste
killer.
drücken,
If there's
um
one person...
It would have
langsamer
to
zu
be you,
machen.
Celeste.
How many times?
Und dann schießen.
Celestia Ludenberg!
How long do you plan?
I'm not pretending. It's... And since you have no way...
No, that's wrong! That's it! The handbook!
What?
Anytime you turn your handbook on, it shows the owner's name when it boots up, right? Monokuma told us all about it before.
This handbook is absolutely vital to the healthy school life, so don't lose it. When you set it up, it will display your name. Always make sure you have the right one. No, this is not your everyday notebook. There's so many more uses than that.
So all we have to do is check her handbook, and that'll clear up everything.
Jetzt verstehe ich auch, warum Kyoko letztes Mal gesagt hat, dass die Handbücher nicht im direkten Umsetzen des Mordes in das direkte Umsetzen involviert waren, aber trotzdem noch eine Rolle spielen konnten.
That's how we can find out Celeste's real name.
That's an invasion of privacy. I refuse to cooperate.
Celeste, can you please just tell us what really happened? Please. Just tell us.
Even when I'm put in check, it's just my nature not to give up. Because until the game's over, you never know what might happen.
Fine then. Let me settle it. Let me go over the case again, from the
okay.
beginning, and shed light on all your crimes. And
Wie
that'll
immer.
bring everything to an...
Der Abschluss. Let's do it. Was für ein schönes Bild von Hifumi. Okay, was haben wir hier? The culprit und Hifumi treffen sich. In this case, how did the killer recruit their accomplice? Was it seduction? I don't know. Mal weiter. What time did the killers call their victim to the rec room? Rec room? Das war doch Yasuhiro. Das war 1 Uhr. Who was that the killers summoned first? Der arme Yasuhiro. Dann wird er da reingestopft. They knocked him out, then stuffed him in the rowboat just as to falsify their evidence, and they used a certain item to do it. Und dann haben sie Foto gemacht, oder? What time was Taka supposed to head to the equipment room? 6 Uhr? Das war kurz nach 7. Ich kann 6 Uhr. Okay. Ach so, oh, ich hab kurz nach 7 hier gelesen, weil man sie nicht so gut sieht, dass das... Ah, ja, klar. Danke. Justice hammer was used to kill Taka. What number was it? Oh shit. Das weiß ich nicht mehr. Ich glaube, es war Nummer 3. In the library, Hifumi used something to fake the existence of a shadowy criminal. The library? Also, das war Justice Hammer 2. Dann schönes Bild. Ja, mit dem Blut. Which Justice Hammer was in the nurse's office when Hifumi was pretending to be dead? Das war, glaube ich, Nummer 4. Dann steht er auf. Hifumi used something to move Taka's body. Na, das da. Dann hat er ihn hier wieder ausgepackt. Und dann kommt der wahre Mörder und haut ihm volle Kanne einen auf den Kopf. Weapon the killer used to murder Hifumi. Noch so ein Hammer. Okay, jetzt fehlt noch ganz am Anfang. When did the killer recruit their accomplice? Oh. I don't know. Steht hier irgendwas zu dem Bild?
The killer is you! Before anything, the killer persuaded someone to help carry out the murder. And that person was...
Okay, passt. Passt ja eigentlich von der Perspektive her, wie er steht.
With an accomplice, the killer was able to execute a number of otherwise impossible schemes.
1 Uhr.
First, they convinced someone to meet them in the rec room last night at 1 in the morning. That someone they met with was Hiro. The murderous duo intended to pass Hiro off as the prime suspect. So when they met up with him, they drugged him, knocked him out, and stuffed him into the Robo-Justice suit.
Die Musik ist so cool.
Next, Hifumi positioned himself to make it look like Robo Justice was attacking him.
Sie haben Hifumi hier in diesen Zeichnungen echt nochmal vorteilhafter dargestellt als ohnehin
While the
schon, muss
killer
ich schon
used a
sagen.
digital camera to take pictures of the assault. They did all this just to create evidence that would put the suspicion on Hiro. When they were done with him, they shoved him, still unconscious, into the pool room locker.
Jetzt, wo ich es so sehe, komme ich mir saudämlich vor, das
6
nicht
a.m.
gesehen zu haben.
They moved into the murder phase of their plan. They called Taka to the equipment room. And that's where Hifumi killed him, making it the scene of the first murder.
War das jetzt wirklich Nummer 3? Fuck. Das war Nummer 4. Scheiße, ja, da muss ich die 2 austauschen. Moment. Dann ist das hier Nummer 3. Da war ich mir nämlich nicht sicher. Das hier Nummer 4. Zum Glück gibt es ja
Here's
Text
exactly
vorspulen.
what happened.
Ah ne, es geht direkt hier wieder weiter. Das ist ja praktisch.
And that's where Hifumi killed him, making it the scene of the
Mir lässt
first
es
murder.
irgendwann auch schon mal passiert und ich war mir jetzt aber nicht mehr sicher, ob er wieder hinspringt.
The murder weapon was Justice Hammer 4, which was left there in the equipment room. The reason Hammer number 4 was used was to create confusion about the order of the crimes. So, next they falsified 2 more assault incidents. For these attacks, the killers pretended to be the victims, to solidify Robo Justice as the suspect. The first fake incident was the attack in the rec room. There, the killers wanted us to see Justice Hammer 1, and the Robo Justice pictures they'd taken. They wanted to make sure we bought the surprise attack story. The second fake incident was the attack in the library. This time, they planted Justice Hammer 2, and an injured Hifumi, to sell us that story. With these 2 incidents, the killers were able to create a certain preconception in our minds that the suspect was increasing the size of the hammers and attacking people in order as they did. We fell right into their trap and started looking for the suspect based on that. But while we did that, we left Hifumi alone in the nurse's office. This was exactly what Hifumi was hoping for.
Boah, muss das eklig sein.
He took a blood packet from
Das
the
sieht immer noch
refrigerator
dumm aus.
and Justice Hammer 3 and turned the room into a crime scene in which he himself had apparently been brutally murdered. He let out a scream to draw us back, and when we returned, that's what we found. Meanwhile, the other group that had been out searching found Taka's body at the same time. So when we heard the body discovery announcement, we naturally assumed it was for Hifumi. We left the nurse's office, and Hifumi once again took advantage of the situation. He simply got up and made his escape. When we learned his body had disappeared, we all rushed back to the nurse's office, and once again, Hifumi had the chance he was waiting for. This time, he snuck into the equipment room. He wrapped Taka's body in a tarp and used the dolly to move it all the way down to the repository. That explains how each of the bodies disappeared. But even Hifumi didn't know what the true killer had in mind for their final act. Their plan all along was to kill Hifumi and get rid of the one person who could betray them. And they did it using an ordinary, everyday hammer from the repository. That should cover everything that happened in this case. And the villain behind it all is...
Coole Grafik.
Celeste! Sorry, you lose.
I lost? I lost? When was the last time I was forced to utter such words? They hang heavy around my neck.
Then you admit it? You're the killer?
Listen to you. trying to take charge, as if you're my private instructor. I, Celestia Ludenberg. Actually, no, Taiko Yasuhiro is fine.
Da-da-da.
Keiko?
So, you finally accepted it.
I'm the kind of person, once I've lost, I don't like things to drag on.
Oh, sogar ihr Akzent ist weg.
Interesting.
That's it. Dicke, fette Münzenausbeute. Geil.
Okay, Monokuma. I'm ready to begin.
Ich finde es echt interessant, wie ihre Stimme jetzt auf einmal so ganz anders ist.
Or, no, I suppose this is the end, isn't it?
It is indeed the moment we've all been waiting for. Time to vote. Okay? Okay.
Okay.
If you would, please locate your lever and cast your vote. And when the votes are tallied, who will become the blackened? Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
Explodiert er gleich in seinem Bild da rechts. Hiro wählt aus Versehen für sich selbst. Das könnte ich mir bei ihm sogar absolut vorstellen. Oh, sorry, man. I finger slipped, man. It's basically a formality at this point, but once again, you're totally correct. The blackhand this time, the true killer who devised the whole stinking scene was Celestia Ludenberg, or more precisely, Taiko Yasuhiro.
Honestly.
I lost. Well, that sucks. I guess trying to work with someone else was a mistake after all. Hifumi's ineptitude was beyond all my calculations.
I knew it.
So you really did approach Hifumi with this plan. But how did you get him to agree? I can't imagine he would have happily agreed to commit murder. I'm sure she relied on her speciality, lying. My speciality? Don't make me laugh. I didn't have to like to get him to agree.
So then...
Then did you use... you know... I knew you'd figured out, Kyoko. You're absolutely right. To get Hifumi to act as my accomplice,
Indeed.
I used her. Ah. Ich denke, wir wissen, was gemeint ist. For everyone who's still left, I will avoid mentioning it by name, but it was the one thing Hifumi and Taka were both super into. Does she mean... is she talking about alter ego?
Say what?
What are you talking about?
Just a second.
Don't interrupt. We're in the middle of a very important conversation here. I'm totally out of the loop as usual. How sad.
In other words...
Then you're the one that stole it.
Indeed.
That's right.
I see.
And you used it to drag Hifumi into the plan you'd come up with. Right again. Last night after we had our meeting about how I would... Nochmal. Last night after we had our meeting about how it would disappear... how it had disappeared, I paid Hifumi a little visit. What are you doing here?
Actually,
I was hoping I could talk to you alone. It is about what was stolen. I know who did it.
What?
are you okay
It was
with this?
Taka. He stole it.
So then...
And I have proof. Would you like to see it? As it turned out, I had found a use for the digital camera. I had taken you-know-what to Taka's room earlier and took pictures of it there. I deleted the picture as soon as I had shown it to Hifumi, of course.
Damnation!
So it was him. But how did he do it? She was supposed to yell if either of us got close to her.
You are correct, which is why Taka forced me to steal it.
Say what?
As for me...
Please forgive me. He threatened me.
Oh.
He did?
As for me...
He came to my room last night unannounced, and then it's hard for me to even say he abused me.
What?
And he took pictures. He said if I did not do as he asked, he would show them to everyone. So I had no choice.
Damnation!
That's a crime. An absolute crime. I knew he'd gone a little crazy, but
Say what?
I never imagined he would go that far.
It was amazing how completely he bought it. I can't express how enjoyable that was.
Those pictures never existed. I'm about to say something I've never said before in my life. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to fucking kill him.
Most unfortunate.
Wait, please. If you go now, you will be playing right to his hands.
Actually,
Taka is planning to use her to escape. and he has made you his target.
What?
Escape? You don't mean...
Taka is going to try to kill you.
Let go!
Indeed.
And also he can keep her to himself. Da kann man Hifumi ja nicht mal 100%ig böse sein, wenn sie ihm all diese Lügen aufgetischt hat und er das alles geglaubt hat. Hat er sich natürlich total im Recht gesehen mit seinem, ja, Mord an Taka.
This is unforgivable.
Honestly.
Can we allow him to continue with these barbaric acts?
Absolutely not. How could I? She...
I swear,
I
will.
Actually,
Then, would you like to join with me? It just so happens I have come up with a plan. I have devised a way to reclaim what he has stolen and escape this dreadful school. And with that, it is complete.
What are you talking about?
Oh, nothing. Hifumi agreed without a second thought. The effect that item had on him was remarkable. The power of love, even a love as twisted as that, can still drive people mad, it would seem.
You disgust me, man.
I see.
I have another question for you. Was that strange costume Hifumi's creation?
indeed.
Yeah, it was a real pain in the butt too. All I asked him to do was make something to hide the face and general body size. I had no idea he would make something like that, but it's my fault for picking him in the first place.
But
So, why did you decide to make me the suspect?
Because you're stupid. Well, it doesn't beat around the bush, huh?
That's it.
Let's see.
And in that regard, I made the right choice. I'm so glad your stupidity surpassed my every expectation. Life must have been tough on your parents, though. Oh, Jesus. I feel like I could cry.
Well, but when you were explaining your plan to Hifumi,
How did you explain the part about him playing dead? What's you're asking is, what was Hifumi supposed to do after that, assuming you had actually let him live?
Are you okay with this?
That's simple. After he did his part and pretended to be dead, once someone showed up, I told him to say he'd been seriously wounded, he was on the verge of death, but he just barely held on. And he really believed that? Well, of course, that wasn't all there was to it. As I explained it to Hifumi, the plan was, while you were all questioning him about what had happened to him, I was going to murder someone else. At that point, Hifumi would have an alibi, so nobody could doubt him. I told him that, and he believed it. It all seems very straightforward, stereotypical. I just matched the lie to the level of the opponent. In fact, Hifumi ate it up. He believed the lie wholeheartedly, right up until the moment of his death.
So in the end,
so you had planned to kill him all along.
But of course, there would have been no point to my plan if the one who pretended to be dead did not end up dead himself.
What the heck?
How can human life mean so little to you?
Well,
That's a non-issue. I simply did everything in my power to win.
don't be mean.
Now you sound like Yakuya.
I wonder
No,
about
he
that.
derives his pleasure from the thrill of the hunt. In that aspect, we are nothing alike.
Why?
Then, what made you take things this far?
What the heck?
Was it really just for money? Are you talking about the $10 million Monokuma offered us? That is a lot of money, it's true. But that's not all there is to it. From the moment our new life here began, my only thought has been escape.
But
But all along you've been saying how we have to accept life living here.
You
Obviously,
little bitch!
That was a lie.
Hey!
I couldn't take it. I hated it from day one. More than anyone else in here.
You little bitch!
I wanted to get out every day with fresh torture. And do you want to know why, huh?
This is fine.
Because I had a dream. And accepting a life here would have meant nothing less than giving up on my dream forever.
Honestly.
And there was no way that I could ever do that. In the underground world of gambling, I risked my life to make a metaphorical killing.
As for me,
And it was all for that dream. And what was this dream of yours?
isn't it wonderful?
To live in a European castle. A castle? And to gather handsome men from all over the world to serve as my butlers / bodyguards. I was going to make them dress up like vampires and satisfy my every need. Once I obtained that, I would have created a perfectly aesthetic world of decadence.
This is fine.
Living the rest of my life there was my only dream, or my only goal. No, living the rest of my life there. That's what life is all about. This is fine. Combined with my own winnings, Monokuma's $10 million would have made that dream a reality. I can't say I object to her fantasy. Yeah, seems interesting. Maybe Hifumi should have, like, yeah, drawn a manga of that. Doshinshi of that. I got right to the edge, but
There is nothing to be done.
unfortunately my dream has been scattered to the wind. Still, I don't have any regrets. I pursued my dream till the very end, so why would I?
Just the worst.
You sound so passionate, but you were really able to kill your own friends for it?
Oh,
Are you asking me to feel guilty? That's a pointless endeavor. I think nothing of sacrificing others for my own ends. I feel nothing.
do you understand?
That's all there is to me. That's what makes me complete. Isn't it terrifying how different our values are? There's simply no room for understanding.
What is this?
That's what we should be saying, and plus, how can you be so calm? Don't you realize you're about to die? Why aren't you scared? My ability to lie is unrivaled, and I take pride in that. It's not just other people, I can even fool my own emotions. The conscious deceives the unconscious. And that's why you're not scared?
Yes,
That's
indeed.
right. I don't fear death. Kill me however you like. But you know, if I could be reincarnated, if I had a choice, then
Isn't it wonderful?
I think I would like to come back as Marie Antoinette.
Hey,
You just get executed again. Celeste smiled then. And when she did, it looked to me like a poor effort to force it. She claimed she could fool her own feelings, but that statement itself must have been her final lie. And that weak, fake smile is what betrayed her.
Thrills, chills,
You're done? Okay,
kills!
then let's get rolling. The black can disturb the peace and must pay the price.
Now then, I prepared a very special punishment.
For her, the ultimate gambler.
Let's give it everything we've got. It's punishment time!
I guess I'll let Kyoko hold on to this. What?
This is...
Will it really give you the hope you're looking for? I can't say I ever saw it that way. Which is why, actually, it's not important. Well then, take care, everyone. Perhaps we'll meet again. In another life.
Dann kann ich die Sequenz ja mal eben nutzen, um währenddessen mein Wasserglas aufzufüllen. Bis gleich. Genießt die Show.